Bush's pictures got hidden, obscuring the past, history rewritten, hung in a hallway where no door can see, confirming his unending fragility. If Trump can't see it, you must not exist. That also includes the Epstein list, object permanent, a milestone missed. If Trump can't see it, he must not exist. Testing was the line that he said. Hundreds of thousands needlessly dead. Now HHS is run by brainworm quack, hiding the truth behind his back. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. That also includes the Epstein list, an administration run by narcissists. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. Documents stacked floor to the wall, top secret folders in a bathroom stall. Charges were pressed, but the case was dropped. A corrupt judicial system he can co-opt. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. That also includes the Epstein list. He'll swear it's fake news, a liberal twist. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. Downtown tents lining the street, invisible people that power won't need. Hide them away so the cameras can't find the proof of a system that's cold and unkind. A chaotic secret, an NDA sign, an illegal bribe, Michael Cohen fine. Trump got fined too over his gag order, but she didn't gag, cause he was much shorter. It must not exist. That also includes the Epstein list. We can't let him win, we must resist. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. Proclaimed king, a groper in chief, stealing our country, a crooked orange thief. Faux patriots who are poorly educated, wearing red hats and also animals unite. Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. A failing media that's barely treading water. They're too inept to fight this new world order. Corporate pigs are at the trough, hear the squeals. The swine won't bite the hands that feeds them meals. But Liberal Dan will see us flow. It's the best show that you're not listening to. So when you hear the call, animals unite. Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. A leftist voice on air, exposing MAGA treason, breaking through their lies with facts, logic, and reason. Unmasking hypocrisy, the truth will be our guide. Call out their lies, justice is on our side. 'Cause Liberal Dan will see us through. It's the best show that you're not listening to. So when you hear the call, animals unite. Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right.
And welcome back to Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right, when I forgot to do the things in the right order and I cleared my throat after turning on my mic. We're going to mention live from New Orleans, Louisiana. We may open up the phone lines in a little bit, we'll see. But as you can tell with the larger face and probably much better audio, we are upstairs again. Hey, I decided that I really wanted to take a real shower, that shower wipes were just not cutting it, and I needed to take a real shower, wash my hair, and do all that good stuff. So I'm like, Thomas, my oldest, like, get behind me, or you're going to follow me up the steps. We're going to give this a shot. If I don't feel comfortable, I'm just going to turn right back around. And I was like, boom, 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 went up the stairs. Not one problem getting up the stairs. So, yay for that. And so I then said, hey, how about all of y'all get my equipment back up here so I can do a show normally again, which is awesome. So we'll have regular shows with 3 monitors and a better microphone and a better camera angle so you're not seeing my neck fat, or at least as much of the neck fat all bunched up when I'm sitting on the recliner. So yay for that. And yay for that for another reason. We'll get into that a little bit more in a second. I'm not ready to fully announce it yet, but we got big news coming. So I'm also wearing my FD with the nice little hair up there, and well, it's a t-shirt, so it's an FDT. So there you go. If you want to get your FDT or the shirt I was wearing Monday, which is the Al Gore Needs More Rhythm shirt, go right ahead and head on over to store.liberaldanradio.com or go to liberaldan.com and click the Liberal Dan Radio store link that's on the right-hand side, and you'll be able to get there. Just remember to use HTTP because for some reason it doesn't like it. If it uses the S, it just thinks it's insecure or whatever. Whatever. I need to figure that out. I don't have enough time right now to figure out all that stuff and figure out how to get a certificate working or whatever. So that's, you can support the show that way by going to the Liberal Dan Radio store. I have a liberal, at least one, if not two, Liberal Danimals shirts coming up as well. So if you are a liberal, want to say you're a liberal Danimal, those shirts will be coming hopefully shortly. I'll let you know when those are ready to launch. Anyway, support the show other ways. You could Venmo, Liberal Dan on Venmo. You could buy me a cider. Go to liberaldan.com, click the buy me a cider button, or go to buymeacoffee.com/liberaldanradio. Either way will get you there. You can become a patron, patreon.com/liberaldan or patreon.liberaldan.com. Support the show monthly. And the best thing you can do to support the show is to support the algorithms by liking, sharing, subscribing, comment on as many videos, like as many videos, but just go down the list and go like. Help the algorithms because, as the shirt says, Al Gore needs more rhythm. You could also, but if you also want to help more on YouTube, you can gift subscriptions to other, or gift memberships to other people, help other people become liberal Danimals. You can also, buy one for yourself, buy super chats, super stickers over on Twitch. If you have Amazon Prime, it doesn't cost you anything. You can subscribe every month. You have to do it every month, but you can subscribe every month using Amazon Prime. You can also gift other people subscriptions and buy bits, etc. So thank y'all for joining. Appreciate y'all hanging around with me. Mike is gonna buy me a Corvette. I've always loved Corvettes. I've always wanted one. So thank you. I won't hold my breath. Let's see. We got a lot of the J Squad in the house today. Jackie, Josh, Jeff from just north of Uranus. Did I miss any of the other J Squad? I don't think Jolie's here yet, or she might not. Who knows, work or whatever. Anyway, so we got them in the house. We got Susie Jones. I don't know if Susie Jones with last name counts as part of the J Squad, but if they want her, they can. More than welcome to welcome her in as a J Squad member. Teresa's in the chat. Good to see you, Teresa. Thank you for joining the show. Of course, we got Aaron, one half of the best mod squad on the planet. Apparently, Hurricane Aaron is getting thick out in the Atlantic Ocean. So, thick. We got Mr. Hunt, who offers to buy me a Corvette. We got Steve from across the pond.
If it's no Scottish, it's crap.
We've got, what else? Josh says, I'm waiting for Alex Jones versus RFK Jr. on Masked Singer. Toss in the Mike Pillow guy to spice it up. Yeah, I was really disappointed when they had Rudy and Sarah Palin, because I used to watch that show religiously. We haven't watched it in a few seasons. Big Hook from the Great White North. Good to see you, Big Hook. Impeccable Living is in the house.
Oh, my.
Let's see, who else? Not everybody's going to get their own sound, but, if I catch you not. If I catch you doing something fun or whatever, maybe I'll do that. Suzanne's in the house, too. Thank you. Thank you for joining. Somebody was on, Jeff, I think, said something about somebody. Oh, good news. Who Wants to Be a Millionaire Celebs is on. Chloe Feynman is on, and she ain't wearing a wedding ring. Well, currently, I'm still not wearing a wedding ring either. But that's just because I haven't put it back on after my procedure, after my knee replacement. So, doesn't mean I'm not happily married still, but I just don't have the ring on currently. There are many times where I make fun of my wife that, oh, guess you're not married today, because she'll leave the house and won't put on the ring. I rarely take it off, so that's why I'm not really remembering now to put it on, because I'm rarely taking it off and putting it on. Anyway, 250 kilo ohm over in Twitch had asked about some newer Liberal Dan radio shows aren't showing on Twitch, but older ones are not. I don't know what's the deal with that. It could be just show me the new ones instead of show me the sort. Maybe the filter is not working. I don't know. But if you do want to see other episodes of Liberal Dan Radio and they're not available on Twitch for some reason, just head on over to YouTube, and all of the shows are up there on YouTube as well. We got Norvillaby over there and Aaron over on Twitch. Thank y'all for joining us. Of course, we started the show before the main intro music. We played again. If Trump can't see it, must not exist, because Trump has problems with object permanence, and we will be talking about more of his issues with object permanence in a bit. But yeah, and actually, I've actually shortened it down a bit for another clip. So if we start talking about Trump failing to be able to, understand the concept of object permanence, and if we ever find an example of that, we'll just be able to play the short part from the chorus.
If Trump can't see it, You must not exist. That also includes the Epstein list. Object permanent, a milestone missed. If Trump can't see it, he must not exist.
I should probably isolate the last two lines of the bridge of the song, because if you notice, the bridge changes up at the end or whatever. I had no idea what a bridge was until I started making my own music, and I was like, "What's a bridge?" Google, and I found out. Didn't really know. Didn't really care to know until, because I heard like the Justin Timberlake song, "Take it to the chorus, take it to the bridge," and I'm like, okay, whatever. What's the bridge? But I never bothered to look it up until I started making my own music. I'm like, okay, so that's the last two lines. Trump got fined too because of his gag order, but she didn't gag because he was much shorter. So I'll have to probably put that together as well. But I might have to eliminate one of those many favorites I have on the top of my soundboard. I don't know which one to take. Maybe...
Well, I didn't vote for you.
Even though that is a good one to use. Maybe that one, because I can't imagine getting rid of the...
It is what it is.
I can't get rid of Impeccable Livings. I can't get rid of Steve's. I can't get rid of Aaron or Jolie's. And then I can't get rid of this one. What is this one, do you ask? Well, today is the anniversary of the second Joseph Gao town hall. Joseph Gao, if you remember, is a former congressperson from my congressional district, who was the only Republican who's been elected to that district in a very long time. And he was parroting the Liberty Council on H.R. 3200 as it pertains to Section 122 of that legislation. Whew, excuse me, I told you I'm tired. Didn't get much sleep last night either. And at the first town hall that I went to, I corrected him and told him that that part is not about death panels, it's about cost sharing. And at that forum, he told me...
You are much, much smarter than I am.
So, there you go. And then, so, at this town hall that he held, which was on... That first one was uptown in the city of New Orleans. This one was on the West Bank, much closer to my home in New Orleans. And there was a third one in Kenner that I don't think I went to. But the second one, he actually pointed me out in the crowd. And even though they never called on me to ask the question, he still pointed out in the crowd and told everybody that here's Dan, and he's much, much smarter than I am. So I was absolutely just amused by the fact that he brought it up. He remembered me. I don't know if he would still remember me or not, but, I'm just love the fact that a Republican congressman was on audio saying...
You are much, much smarter than I am.
So there you go. Anyway, maybe I can get rid of this one. I think I got rid of one of the Bueller ones. Maybe I should have gotten rid of this one. Maybe I could get rid of the...
Thank you, Simone.
For that one, because that one's rather just, very rare that I'd probably use that one. Big Hook, loving the Newsom trolling of Trump and all of Fox News. It's epic. The saddest part is the maggots can't see it. It's basically holding mirror. Oh, I've been seeing that on Facebook too. I've been looking at Facebook and watching people like, Gavin Newsom is making himself look so stupid. And I'm like, you realize he's mocking your boy, right? You realize he's mocking old Donnie boy by acting exactly like him. And if y'all think that he's acting stupid, it's purposeful. It's purposeful because guess what? He's pretending to be your idiot in chief. And he's doing a better job at it. It's much better. Now, look, I don't think that Gavin Newsom is sitting there making the memes, going to AI and do... But the fact that he's allowing it to be done in his name is awesome enough. It's like they probably took the guy from the Wendy's account that would make epic tweets and probably like, hey, can we borrow your social media guy so that we can have a trolling social media guy for our... And they were like, sure, go ahead, no problem. So, I don't know, that's my theory at least. But I'm sure it is somebody else who's actually doing all this and at least coming up with the concepts for him to sign off on at the very least. So, but it is great. As Impeccable Living says, it is fabulous. Michael Hunt says Gavin is just a punk. Well, for what? For acting like your dude? Like for acting like Al Trumpo? I mean, he's doing a very brilliant job with what's going on, and we have needed more Democrats to fight back. And one of the things that I always disagreed with Michelle Obama on, when she was like, when they go low, we go high. Fuck that. I've always said, when they go low, we get down and go lower and then beat them into the ground with it, proverbially. So, no, we shouldn't fight. You don't fight fire with oil. You fight fire with fire. Well, what about water? Maybe that too. But no, there's a reason you fight fire with fire. I don't feel like going into the whole thing. But yes, he does have a very effective social media department. Good to see you, Roxanne. I did hear Chucker John the other day say to the Roxanne, you don't have to put on the red lights. I know. I'm always tempted to do that all the time, but I don't. But I did hear it the other day, and I chuckled, so I had to say it again once I saw you again, and I was reminded of it. So there you go. Let's see. There are times where I like to call my shots. I love calling my shots, especially when it comes to predicting what Republicans, MAGA folks, conservatives are going to do, and telling them to their faces that they are going to do precisely what I'm saying they're going to do, and they do it anyway, because they're a bunch of brain-dead morons who don't quite understand what's going on with the whole, how brains work and everything. I mean, they're so on one track of trying to fight this fight and make the arguments that have been just beaten into their heads that they can't even think for themselves for just a brief second. What am I talking about? What is Liberal Dan talking about? Well, let's pull up this, shall we? Post I made in response to the Save Our States post or whatever, talking about voter IDs. And I was like, the problem with these so-called voter ID laws are not the ID requirement. I take no issue with the requirement to show an identification to vote, despite there being no evidence that ID requirements have done anything to make elections more secure. The problem with these so-called voter ID laws are the other provisions in these laws that intended to make it harder for certain American citizens to vote. And despite me just saying that I have no problem with the ID requirements, some idiot is going to respond, what's wrong with requiring an ID to vote, or something else moronic. A few hours later, person responds, I called this conversation on Facebook. If you follow me on facebook.com/liberaldanradio, these screenshots are up there. He goes, certain Americans to vote sounds racist. You're implying that blacks are too stupid to get an ID, and that is racist BS. Who is some people? Whatever. And then whatever. That's why I responded the way I did. Remember what I said? I responded that I have no issue with the voter ID, but it was the other provisions in those laws that have nothing to do with the requirement to show an ID that make it hard to vote. And then remember when I said that some idiot was going to respond focusing back on the ID requirement? You just made an absolute fool of yourself because y'all are so predictable. It's sad. It's like MAGA shares the same 3 brain cells. Also, calling people blacks is racist. Another one about voter IDs. It will help prevent illegal votes. What will? The voter IDs that I have no problem with? Or, and the fact that when Wisconsin got a clean bill that was 63% of the state because it was just a clean bill only on voter IDs and on nothing else, it passed overwhelmingly? Or is it the other provisions that are going to prevent illegal votes? Let me know, because inquiring minds want to know, right? So it is so easy to make these people look like the idiots that they are. They're mindless, brain-dead zombie sheep who are just going to go bah instead of brains. I don't think they could know to ask for brains because I don't think they even know what one is. But they are just so brainwashed or brain cell washed or whatever, head washed. I don't know what you want to call it if they don't have brains. They're just so have all these voter ID things just shoved into their head by the same thing over and over and over again that they can't think for themselves. They can't realize when somebody is making them look like a fool, which happens almost every single gosh darn day. Now, of course, another one on this Save Our States post, I hit the wrong one, was a group called Voter ID for Me, but it's M-E capitalized, and it's for Maine. And help us pass voter ID this November in Maine. Learn more or chip in at voteridforme.com. And so I went to their website and had to dig a little deeper, found the little blurb from the, from the actual text of the legislation that the voters will see. And they basically made my point that the text says, do you want Maine to change election laws to eliminate 2 days of absentee voting, prohibit requests for absentee ballots by phone or by family members, and ending ongoing absentee voter status for seniors and persons with disabilities? What? Ban prepaid postage on absentee ballot return envelopes, limit the number of drop boxes required voters, and require voters to show certain photo ID before voting, and make other changes to our elections. They don't even list all of the changes that they want to make. But this is not a clean bill. So by calling this a voter ID law, you're misleading the public, because most of the things in this legislation have nothing to do with the requirement to show an ID. But again, I make that claim and I make that argument, and more idiots are going to come by in the next days, weeks, and months or whatever and show why Donald Trump in 2016, after the Nevada primary, said that he loved the poorly educated. Because they take advantage of the fact that these people think that all these laws do is, add a requirement to show a voter ID. But that's not all they do. In my GOP coup series that I have, the second video, and that talks about voter ID laws, these so-called voter ID laws, and how, when the Supreme Court overturned as part of the Voting Rights Act that required pre-clearance on several states that have proved themselves to be untrustworthy, and then pre-clearance went away, all these states started jumping and proving why they were untrustworthy. And then North Carolina goes and passes legislation that includes an ID, that charges for an ID to vote, that's a poll tax, and that does all sorts of things, including, as the ruling said, they went after black voters with surgical precision. They basically went and looked at every single way that people in the state vote, and then saw, oh, these are the ways that the black people vote, so we're going to eliminate those. But back to the main thing, what does removing 2 days of absentee voting, how does that help elections? How does that help secure elections at all? Conservatives have this crazy, weird idea that voting should all be done on one day on election day and blah, blah, blah. No. Early voting is fine. There's no issue with early voting, whether or not it's with a machine or with an absentee. I've never voted absentee. I've only ever voted on voting machines here in the state. I've only ever done that, but I've often done it early because it's more convenient that way, especially when the election's on a Tuesday and I could vote early on a Saturday. And there are other people who might work on Tuesdays who might want you to vote on their day off. But no, these clowns think that eliminating days of absentee voting somehow makes elections safer. No, they actually know that that's not what it does. What they do with all of these other requirements in these voter ID laws, these so-called voter ID laws, is they make changes to make it so that persons who are black will be less likely to vote, because they want their populace, they want the voting people to be more white and older. They want more white people voting and less other people voting. And I'm sure that if there's some conservative listening in the chat right now, that conservative is going to say the same stupid thing, what's wrong with requiring an ID, when I'm sitting here complaining about the other provisions of these so-called voter ID laws. So, go ahead. Prove my point, conservatives. I love it when y'all do it, because it makes me feel like the Babe Ruth of voter ID discussions. I will literally call my shot, point out to center field or whatever. Point out, I think he pointed out to, maybe he pointed out to left field, I don't know. Called my shot out, and then hit my home run every single damn time. And it's glorious. See what, Dan, have you ever given money to black people to repent for your white privilege, from this interesting username. Why would I have to? I mean, white privilege. Here, let's make a video on this too, because this will be fun. User in chat says, Dan, have you ever given money to black people to repent for your white privilege? White privilege, the idea of privilege, is often confused and misunderstood by conservatives. Conservatives hear the word privilege and think it's an individual thing. Privilege is not about individual results. Privilege is about groups of people and overall net results that groups of people have to deal with. Just because you might be able to find an exception to the rule, it doesn't mean that the rule doesn't exist. The exception proves the rule. But they also say, where's my white privilege? You have it if you're white. It happens. You are, if you're a black man in this country, an unarmed black man in this country, it's 3.5 times more likely to be shot by cops than a white man who's unarmed. Simple as that. And it only has to do with their race. There are people who, when they apply for job applications, that if you have a name that sounds as if it could be an urban sounding name, if you will, that they assume that the name on the application is a black person, they are more likely to just toss your resume aside. There are people who investigate, housing fraud or housing crimes as it pertains to discrimination on housing and renting out, where people will say, hey, I want to rent out this apartment as a black person, and then they'll be denied. And then the same person who's a white person with the same amount of information, same basic type of, income level, etc., education level, criminal record, will go in and they'll get the apartment. But the black person won't, because we have racism here in this country, and racism in this country is alive and well. That's what we mean by privilege. Privilege is like playing the game, to borrow from John Scalzi. Privilege is like playing the game of life as a video game. And white people get to start the game on an easier mode than black people, all other things being equal. So, does that mean that the white person is going to automatically win the game and save the princess? Nope. The white person may be very inept at playing the game. Does that mean that the black player of the game is going to fail to save the princess? No. The black player may be very adept. But privilege means that the black individual who's playing in the game of life is going to have to deal, on average, with more obstacles than the average white man, all other things being equal. And why it's always saving the princess is a completely other story. Deals more with probably intersectionality and how privileges can intertwine. But if y'all don't understand what privilege is at the 30,000 foot level, you're not ready for conversations of intersectionality yet. We have to get you to understand what privilege means in the first place. So, I don't know what giving money means. I do know what giving money means. I'm saying that my specifically giving money to a black person or to black people is not going to solve the systemic issues of racism that create white privilege in this country. We have, it's again, because it's not an individual thing. I've given money to political campaigns when those political campaigns might have been more likely than other political campaigns to help fix the issues, the systemic issues, systemic racism, bigotry, etc., the marginalization of black folks, to make sure that we can fix the problems. I know for damn sure that Donald Trump is not going to be one who's going to be fixing those systemic issues of racism. Islamic State says, why are you assuming the princess needs to be saved when women are... Because, again, I'm using that as a common trope in video games. I am well aware that women are capable of, living the game of life and playing the game of life themselves. But again, women who play the game of life also have the same sort of things that they have to deal with as it pertains to, race. Because, again, intersectionality, but you're not ready for intersectionality. You've proven that you can't understand that concept because there are layers of privilege that go on. So you're a black gay male, and then you might have a white trans woman. Those layers, kind of, interact with each other. And in some areas, the white person might have more privilege than the black person, but, the man is going to have more privilege than the woman. A straight person is going to have more privilege than a gay person, etc., etc., etc. So he says, I'm assuming, this user says, you're saying it's not your responsibility? I'm saying that it is my responsibility to help fight the systems of marginalization and oppression that exist in this country, to help fight and overcome and eliminate privilege as a thing overall, so that nobody is put at a disadvantage simply because of the nature of their birth. That's my responsibility. It's my responsibility to, well, I'd say stand up and talk about these things, but I just had knee replacement surgery, so while I can stand, it's much more difficult and painful, so I'll do other things like sit down and talk to it and try to explain to people what privilege really is. And not that I think that your username implies that you're probably somebody lost to the cause, but anybody else who might be listening or watching along or whatever might say to themselves, what's the point here? And hear me talk and be like, okay, I'm making some decent points against the clown in the chat. Anyway, that's the overall 30,000 foot view. I'll probably still respond to you in chat, but I'm going to stop recording this part of the video now. Why are you obfuscating from the fact that you've done nothing to benefit black people in your life? I'm probably could say that I could probably do more to help anybody, black people, other people who are not, as privileged as me as on whole sorts of things. But, I like to think I'm trying to make a good fight and trying to do whatever it is. But I also will always defer to black people on issues of their marginalization and oppression. So I'm not going to be talking over black people when it comes to those issues. I'm going to be listening to them and then using my voice, my privilege, to amplify what they are saying about their marginalization and their oppression. Just as I always hope that, men wouldn't talk over women. Laughable, because we all know that men love to all talk over women. Just like I would hope that people wouldn't talk over Jewish people and explain to Jewish people that, what their marginalization and oppression is like. Unfortunately, there are many people who try to talk over Jewish people like myself and tell us what we should be feeling on our marginalization and our oppression. You're just using buzzwords now. White knight. No, I never said that, never claimed that. Nothing in what I said could ever be implied as that. So, oh, fat shaming. I've lost 125 pounds. But go on. Go on. I've lost 125 pounds. I'm going to make an exception. I'm going to tell the mods, tell Aaron and Jolie, if you happen to be here, that there's an exception right now. If y'all want to jump on this guy and not just attack what he's saying, go right ahead. Or this user, go right ahead. I don't give a crap. Anyway. Am I Jewish? I'm surprised you didn't assume that I was because of how I look. But yes, I just said I'm Jewish. So I'm Jewish. I was born Jewish, raised Jewish. I'm not practicing at the moment. I practiced enough as a kid. Don't need to practice anymore. But, as old Orange Face says,
it is what it is.
And I also don't believe you. You said earlier in the chat, with all of the way things that you're talking about, I don't believe you that you're pro-abortion. I don't believe you one bit. I think you're a liar. So, I have a whole 3-hour episode about living life as a fat person. And I've explained certain those reasons that why people tend to be obese when they are obese. One of the reasons, and I've talked about this openly and publicly on my podcast, so I have no problem talking about it again, is that when I worked for the Louisiana Public Health Institute. There was a presentation one month about what things were working on, and one of those things that people were working on was the high correlation between obesity and morbid obesity and people who were abused as children. And if you were abused as a kid, you are 2 times more likely to be obese or morbidly obese than somebody who wasn't abused. And I'm saying right now that I was abused as a person. And again, because you have a small mind and don't understand how things work, this is not saying that everybody who is abused is going to be fat. It's saying that if you are of overall groups of people, you have the people who are abused and you have the people who are not abused. The people who are abused are 2 times more likely to be obese or morbidly obese than the people who are not. Because I'm already anticipating your shit arguments. Practice equals masturbation. Maybe. Let's see. Dan, do you support Israel? I have been you must be very new to the channel. Either that or you're just purposely trolling. I've been very vocal in my opposition to how Israel has responded to the 10/7 attacks. I believe that the idea that Benjamin Netanyahu has posed that we should be moving they would be moving all of the people who live in Gaza, all of the Palestinians in Gaza, to South Sudan is literally ethnic cleansing and wrong. And as Jewish people, the people in his administration, himself, every Jewish person alive should understand why ethnic cleansing is wrong. And I've been very critical of how Israel has responded to the attacks. Not that they were not allowed to attack, not that they should or respond to the attacks. They should have responded to the attacks. They should have prevented the attacks because there's information out there showing that they knew the attacks were coming and they did nothing to stop it, because it was better for Netanyahu's political career for him to be able to respond to an attack than it was for him to stop it in the first place. So he has Israeli blood on his hands too, because his administration knew about it and could have stopped it and didn't. So F him and F the administration of Israel. Jesus Christ. Do I consider myself a Zionist? Netanyahu would say, no, you're not a Zionist. Hamas would say, yes, you are. I'm somewhere in the middle. I believe that there should be a 2-state solution simply because of the fact that, you can't have a single state at this point with the people who literally have been raised to hate each other for decades. Is that enough? Do you have enough? I would defer to the consensus of black people on racial oppression. So the consensus among black people in general is that Clarence Thomas is a quack. Simple as that. So I'm going to defer to the consensus of what black people say about their marginalization and oppression, and I'm not going to sit here and listen to old Clarence Thomas when he says that he wants to overturn things like Loving versus Virginia. He thinks that was poorly founded. The ruling that allowed him to get married to Ginny Thomas. Whatever. No, I'm not obfuscating. I'm not obfuscating one bit. I'm saying that the issue of Israel's existence is much more nuanced and complicated than most of the people debating the topic of Palestine versus Israel, Hamas versus Israel, want to make it. And I have a whole bunch of videos that you are free to go watch on this channel. There is a playlist about the Israel and Palestinian issues that you can go look. So we don't have to waste any more time talking about the Israeli issue, the Palestinians issue anymore, because there's a whole bunch of videos that you can watch. I challenge you, go watch them. Understand my beliefs. And don't just sit here and just throw questions at the wall, because what you're doing basically is what all conservatives do at this point, is they will ask a question and then I'll beat them on the answer, and then they'll switch topics to another question. Then they'll switch topics, another question on a different topic, another question on a different topic. Lather, rinse, regurgitate, repeat. And the regurgitate is me throwing up at the ridiculousness of it is. Josh, most black people I meet don't think I'm an asshole, and the feeling is mutual. I don't think you're an asshole either, Josh, so there you go. But then again, I'm not black, so I can't speak for black people on that issue. So anyway, let's go on and continue to talk about the things we want to talk about on the show. No more wasting time on dummies, right? So I did have something funny that I made. just to bring this up. There was an old picture taken of Pam Bondi in front of a bunch of, I don't know if they're ICE agents or troops or whatever, but corporate needs to find the difference between this picture and this picture. And here's the picture of Pam Bondi and a bunch of troops, and here's the picture, it's all smiley, and here's a picture of this woman in front of a bunch of other people from another particular thing altogether, and of course, they're the same picture. I saw this one, and I was like, oh, there's some similarities there. There you go. Anyway. What else? So we could talk about, should we talk about gerrymandering next, or should we talk about Donald Trump sweeping more under the rug? Let's talk about Donald Trump sweeping things under the rug, shall we? Go watch those videos. Stop asking those crap. Jolie accidentally ended up at a bar tonight. Well, you know, I hope you had fun. If you walked into a bar, or I hope you ducked and didn't walk into the bar. Well, hopefully you have an accident after the bar. So, anyway. As part of this show, we've talked about how Donald Trump apparently has not learned the idea of object permanence because he believes that if he can't see something, it does not exist. Let's look at his thing from Truth Social. Now, I did have a question that I wanted to ask the crowd or whatever. If he calls it Truth Social, could we get a lot of the users to run away from Truth Social if we started calling the people who use Truth Social Truth Socialists? Just thinking. Anyway, museums throughout Washington, but all over the country. That doesn't make any sense. It should be museums throughout Washington and all over the country are essentially the last remaining segment of woke. Tell us what woke is, please. The Smithsonian is out of control, where everything discussed is how horrible the country is, how bad slavery was, how unaccomplished the downtrodden have been, nothing about success, nothing about brightness, nothing about the future. Nothing. He's complaining that the museums are talking about how bad slavery is. If you educate people about the topic of slavery, they will automatically know how bad it is because you will see the wrongs that were done that this country allowed to have happen because we allowed slavery to exist as a thing. But he's complaining that they're in the Smithsonian. Those who forget history are doomed to repeat it. That thing. But also, here's a definition of what a museum is. A building in which objects of historical, scientific, artistic, or cultural interest are stored and exhibited. Why the hell would they be talking about the future? If you want to know about the future... Forgot to change the thing back to the Trump thing. If you want to know about the future, go to frickin' Tomorrowland at Disney World. Museums are supposed to be buildings where you go to learn about things that were done in the past. The idea that we should be talking about what the future of this country holds, you're just a propagandist who wants us to bury our heads in the sand and ignore the wrongdoings of this country. Because this country has done many wrongs. And only a strong country, only an honest country, only a brave country will stand up and say, yes, we've done these wrongs. We've done these bad things, and this is what we're doing to try and fix what we broke. But no. As Donald Trump says, he wants to, he doesn't want people to know about the testing, to find out about the cases. He doesn't want people to know how bad slavery was because he wants to just, not have any exhibits on slavery in museums because, as we all know,
if Trump can't see it, you must not exist. That all also includes the Epstein list. Object permanent, a milestone missed. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist.
Yes, there you go. So Trump can't see it, it must not exist. So we eliminate slavery from our museums and make them less woke. Again, can't probably define woke to save his life. Apparently slavery then disappears. The only way that a country can be exceptional, they want to talk about American exceptionalism. The only way that we can be exceptional is to look backwards, see the things that we've done that were wrong, and fix them. Not sweep them under the rug and hide them and pretend they never happened. Weak countries refuse to look at the wrongs. Weak people refuse to look back at the wrongs that they may have done and seek to apologize and rectify those wrongs. And we all know that Donald Trump is somebody who will never apologize for anything. He will never be able to admit, I did something wrong. Why? Because that is not a quality that he or many of his MAGA supporters have. There's no empathy. No nothing. They know nothing. I have instructed my attorneys to go through museums and start the exact same process that's done with colleges and universities. There were tremendous progress has been made. This country cannot be woke because woke is broke. We have the hottest country in the world. Now thinking of, the Saturday Night Live skit with Stefan, you're like, yes. We have the hottest country in the world. This club in America is called racism. Anyway, we want people to talk about it, including in our museums. So we want to talk to people. Apparently he wants there to be psychics in the museum to talk about the future and not talk about the past and ignore the past or whitewash the past like, Governor DeSantis would do by saying, oh, slavery taught black people how to do jobs. Well, not the ones that died during the hundreds of years of slavery that never got to be free. Even if there were some black people who did learn a trade, they really couldn't get those jobs because, again, they were forced to go back and be sharecroppers, which basically created a different form of slavery. What the South had done in this country. Now, I'm not saying that there was no wrongs in the North either, but the South literally fought wars and killed American citizens. So that to protect their ability to own slaves. And you have people flying Confederate flags. Still, bunch of traitors. I am 100% convinced that when conservatives say make America great again, that they're not talking about the United States of America. They're talking about the Confederate States of America. They want to bring that back. They want the Confederacy back. They want their Confederacy back. It doesn't go as well as baby back, baby back, baby back. But again, just another example. He's going to go to these museums. He's going to force them. I mean, he wanted them to take away the information about from the impeachment exhibit over the fact that he literally was impeached twice. 2 impeachments. No one's had more impeachments. I've had the most impeachments ever. 2. I wasn't convicted of the articles of impeachment, but he was impeached twice. And if you have an exhibit about impeachments, you should be talking about everybody who was impeached. Maybe include people who were close to being impeached, like Nixon, who wasn't impeached because he resigned instead. But, you have to include everybody. But I guess Donald Trump thinks that if the museums don't talk about his impeachments, and that if he can wipe his impeachments from the records, that magically the impeachments never happened. Because
if Trump can't see it, you must not exist. That also includes the Epstein list. Object permanent, a milestone missed. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist.
Anyway, so yeah. It's just more of his lack of ability to understand object permanence. And how he has never developed that milestone. Because he thinks that if he just covers his eyes, you know, doesn't look at the things, they won't be there. Trucker John's in the chat. Good to see you, Trucker John. Trucker John is good. This JS guy is a dumbass. And again, whatever rules we have at this point, I say throw them out the window for this dude. For this user, I should say. We gotta get this guy. Oh, how long do you think I'd be able to stand this moron? Huh? You know, I don't know. Is that a good idea or not? See, remember Collins voted no on conviction because Trump learned his lesson? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Make America Great Again literally harkens back to Nazis. It's a dog whistle to make America white again. That's another thing I've also said. Thank you, atrocious at every game. Woke to me just means don't be an asshole. I mean, to me, woke is basically you're awake, you understand. You've not fallen asleep at the wheel when it comes to the wrongs of this country. You have, you know, you've opened up your eyes and you see, oh, here's the wrongs of this country that we've done. Let's fix them. That's what woke is. Someone says, here are my pronouns, and you do your best to honor that so you don't alienate them. I guess that's being woke. Has Ben Shapiro the model of nope? I want to know. I want to know what your genitals are so I can use the pronoun you were assigned at birth. Is anti-woke. The latter is just being an asshole and an effing creep. Yes, it's really freaky and creepy how many conservative MAGA people are concerned with what's in the pants of children. I mean, it's gross. You had a chance for what? A franchise of Buffalo Wild Wings. There was an 18-year-old cisgender woman who was going to the women's bathroom, and the manager insisted that she prove that she was a woman before she peed. Who was she going to bother in the stall? Doesn't make any sense. Old douchebag in the chat says, Dan, there's literally children dying in Gaza right now. You too scared to talk about it. I literally called what's going on in Gaza frickin' ethnic cleansing. What the hell do you want, you goddamn moron? Like, you're like the people with the voter IDs. You're like the people with the voter IDs that they're like, you know, when I say, I don't have a problem with requiring a voter ID, I have a problem with all the other things in these laws. But I guarantee you that there's some idiot that's going to say, what's wrong with requiring an ID? And they do. Because they're dumb. I've already said the way in which Netanyahu and the Israeli government has responded to 10/7 was wrong. And in many other videos that you apparently are too lazy to watch because you're lazy, I've told you to go watch all the videos that I have on the whole problem of dealing with Israel and Palestine. Go watch them. I've talked about this already. It's anti-Semitic of you to come on a Jewish creator's stream and say, why won't you criticize Israel every single day of your life, every single moment of every single podcast? That is anti-Semitism, you anti-Semitic bigot. You're asking me, requiring me to repeat things over and over again that I've already fucking said. So no, I'm not going to constantly say what I've already said because you're too lazy to go listen and watch the other videos where I've said it. You're making the choice to not go watch those videos and instead sit here and be a troll. So fuck you and fuck off. I never said criticism of... I am a Jewish person criticizing Israel. I've never said those words. You're sitting here lying in the chat. Fuck off. Again, you can go fuck off. Because you're a piece of shit. You're a piece of effing shit. You're proving yourself to be a piece of effing shit. I literally am sitting here as a Jew. I'm a Jewish person criticizing Israel. I have a whole series of videos where I give my criticisms of Israel. I have a short, one of my most recent shorts that I posted on this channel, talks about how Israel is literally proposing ethnically cleansing the entire area by moving every Palestinian into South Sudan. But you're too much of a fucking moron to realize that. You could go look at the other videos of my channel, but you're too fucking lazy too. Fuck off. Thank you, Trucker John. Dean Baker, this Islamic State guy. Yep. Just, that's for you. That's for you. Go watch the other videos that I've made on this series. On this whole issue. I have a whole video series on this damn thing. But you're sitting here in this chat being a moron. I did say, I mean, you said you were pro-abortion over. I don't fucking believe you. Not one bit. But either you're an insane... I mean, I consider myself a leftist. Medicare for all. You know, ending cash bail. Universal basic income. Many pro-abortion, no exceptions. Leave it between the patient and their doctor. You know, lots of issues like that that I support. That put me on the left. But there are some absolutely wackadoodle left. You know, the whole horseshoe theory where, you know, you go far enough to the left and far enough to the right, you actually just meet back on the other side of the crazy horseshoe. There's a bunch of crazy idiots. But regardless of where you stand on that political spectrum, I'm still going to say that Donald Trump would love you, because Donald Trump said that he loved the poorly educated after the 2016 Nevada primaries. And, oh, there's a whole bunch of people trying to prove themselves worthy of that love, and you're doing that right now in this chat. Impeccable Living, I'm doing a treatment called transcranial magnetic stimulation, TMS, Monday through Friday. My depression is so much better and anxiety is improving as well. So you do TMS during the day and then you come here and give us TMI? Sorry, I had to say it. We love you, Impeccable Living, and your stories, and your doing gay shit.
Oh my.
I just had to say it. It was just wide open, as are you some nights when you have doing your gay shit.
Oh my.
Anyway, sorry. I mean, I'm pro-abortion rights. I'll say that way. The ideal number of abortions that take... Aaron, you're right. The ideal number of abortions that should take place in the country should be 0. And the way you get there is by, you know, making sure that every pregnancy is wanted and making sure that every pregnancy is safe. So you make it so that, you know, the people who don't want to get pregnant are not going to get pregnant. The people who do want to get pregnant can get pregnant, and all those pregnancies are safe. And then when that happens, the ideal of 0 abortions takes place, because nobody's sitting there going, woohoo, yay, I'm getting an abortion, woohoo, ha. I mean, some people are relieved that they get to get their abortion. I'm sure Kate Cox from Texas was absolutely 100% pleased that she was able to go to another state and get her abortion, in quotes, that Texas was denying her. And I'm sure she wasn't happy that she had to go get one, but medical necessity required her to do so to prevent her from getting sepsis and then potentially dying. But Ken Paxton was like, nope, you can't get one in Texas until you're about to die. Dumbass. Anyway. I am glad that I can make Impeccable Living laugh. A bunch of gaping laughter, if you will. Let's see. Let's see. Just respond to this. Looks like we are having a guest on Wednesday coming up. I'm not saying the name yet until it's confirmed, but Aaron and Jolie know who it is. Most of you should know who it is too, or when you hear the name. It's not Hal Sparks. This is a new guest that's going to be coming on the show. I'm teasing y'all. If I do get the confirmation during the show, I will announce it during the show. But this is another biggie. This is another big one. So, in fact, when I was talking to my wife about it, my wife was like, "It's probably bigger than Hal." I thought Hal was I considered Hal to be more famous than this person just because of how I know him, but this is potentially somebody's bigger than Hal. And most of y'all probably. Aaron, would you agree that this person is more famous than Hal? Or at least maybe on the same level, if not more? Or again, we're not saying who, but, anyway. Hey, Molly, joy to see you. It's a good guest. It will be a very good guest. I'm very happy about this. Yes, atrocious every game. I've had Hal on 4 times, and I'm working with Andrea to get him on also, to get him on soon, so that he could be on a 5th time. Yes, Aaron says yes, that I'm correct. So there you go. This person is more famous than Hal. And Aaron really likes Hal, so she's a mod for Hal too. Is it bigger than a bread box? Yes, it's bigger than a bread box. Yeah, Dean Baker. Couples should not have to fear getting pregnant. Exactly. I loved Hal. Look, I've told this story before on the show as well. This agent, who was actually the same. I don't think he's not Hal's agent anymore, but it's actually the same person. I had Ian Gervitz on the show, who's an author. And I think I had him on twice. And all of a sudden one day I'm looking at my emails and I get an email from this Jeff guy. And so that's funny because I always get emails from a Jeff, but it's a different Jeff, obviously a conservative guy. And I get email from this Jeff guy. And he's like, "You've had Ian Gervitz on your show before. I would like to potentially offer you the possibility if you could have this other person on your show, Hal Sparks, comedian, actor, host of Hal Sparks Mega Worldwide." And I'm sitting there and I type to the guy. I'm like, "Oh, absolutely. I would definitely love to have another one of the people that you have on that you're representing on my show." And then I hung up and I'm like to my wife, "Oh my God, I'm going to get Hal Sparks on the show." And at this time, I think I only had like 100 subs. And it was my show was mostly on like Blog Talk Radio. Like YouTube was just, I was just starting to get onto YouTube. And he's like, I'm like, "Oh my God, Hal Sparks is going to be on my show." And then I was so worried that day. I was absolutely so worried that day that something bad was going to happen because I had a horrible cable connection at the time. I was worried that the cable would go out, the power would go out, my computer would crash. Please computer don't crash. It's been acting. It acted up a little bit today, but please don't crash, computer. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm sitting there thinking, and I'm just like, I'm hoping nothing goes wrong. And he was only supposed to be on. He was supposed to call in at 8:30, and he was supposed to be on for just a half hour. 2.5 hours later, we ended the show, and I'm just like, I was like, that was amazing. And I ended the show, and I literally cried tears of joy when the show was finished, because nothing went wrong. It went perfectly. And then we had him on a couple of times as well. And because of Hal is why I'm more successful than I was back then, because he is responsible for many of the subscribers, both subscribers on YouTube, followers on Twitch, that I currently have and who currently watch the show. So I'm very, very thankful to all the sparklers, and I wouldn't have had all the sparklers without having Hal Sparks. And even if I'm not on the show, he talks about me. He'll say, "Go watch Liberal Dan" or whatever. He'll bring me up. So it's been a wonderful thing to have all the sparklers have as many sparklers become Danimals as I've already had. And oh, you're here from a Hal, right? That's awesome. So, but yeah, it's very nice that, again, he's been great. As soon as I became monetized, I just made it rain. I gifted subscriptions on Twitch. I gifted memberships on YouTube. I sent Hal big chunk of change, what I could afford at the time, but I sent him another, I was like, thank you for helping me get monetized, because I mean, I couldn't have done it without Aaron or Jolie, because they were the ones, especially on Twitch. Couldn't have done without them. I couldn't have done without, especially on YouTube, I couldn't have done it without all the people who took the time and, just watched videos religiously to make sure we got the video hours up. And then I was like, because I wasn't going to go 2 nights a week until I hit 1,000. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe if I go 2 nights a week, that will get me to 1,000. And that's what happened. So, will get me to the 4,000 or the 3,000 in view hours that I needed. I needed the more view hours, because I was getting close to hitting the 1,000, or at least wasn't quite yet at 1,000 yet, but whatever. I've been monetized for 1.5 years now, which is awesome. So, Dean, I've heard a comet hit Uranus. Ow! Jeez, stop it.
Oh my.
Josh, I found both Dan and Truck and John from kicking around other channels. And there is a large kind of Halliverse, I don't know if you want to call it the Halliverse, of a lot of related shows that all know each other, like each other, that all, want to hype each other up. We all talk about all that stuff, talk about each other, tell, hey, go watch this show, go watch that show. and a rising tide lifts all ships. But it's one of the reasons I think we need a better media. We need a new media. Good segue into needing a new media. Axios. And Axios is typically better than most, but still, this title, Texas House passes let's start over again, because I want to record this. One of the reasons we need new media is because of titles like this. Now, Axios isn't necessarily one of the worst ones out there when it comes to people on the left who have failed us. Axios has done generally a good job with a lot of things, but this headline is super misleading. Texas House passes redistricting map favoring Republicans. Texas's map already favored Republicans. They already were cracking and packing districts. They already were. This just favors Republicans more, gives Republicans a more unfair advantage as it pertains to gerrymandering and voting, etc. We should have a situation. The House of Representatives is supposed to be the House of the people. So therefore, it should be the House of the people in each state, as the founders intended it to be. But anyway, it should be like, if your state, like Louisiana, is like 33% liberal or left or progressive or whatever, that many people in Louisiana are, here. We should have 2 seats, but we don't. We didn't. We only had 1. 33% of Louisiana was black. There should be 2 black seats, but there's not. There wasn't. And then there was, because they actually had a ruling against us in the Supreme Court that said our maps are not well drawn, easy for me to say. So you have to redraw them, and they redrew them, and they created a second district. Now, the person they wrapped the district around was Cleo Fields, and we've talked about what of a shitbag he is, because there's no reason why he should be anywhere near politics again, because we've discussed his corruption in past shows. But still, there should be 2 seats. But there should not be 2 seats because you draw a map a certain way and give this way. No. There should be 2 seats because there should be 2 seats, period. And the way to eliminate that is you eliminate congressional districts and you elect slates of candidates. But that's not on the table. That's nowhere near the table because not enough people are talking about it. I don't know if there's anybody in the media right now who is talking about changing from congressional districts to slates of candidates. But, I'll be critical of the blue states too. I have been critical of the blue states too as well, where, if you have a state that's 5 congressional seats, and if 20% of that state is Republican, then you should have one Republican seat. Now, but it's hard to do if it's scattered all over the area. It's hard to draw that. You have to then draw a stupid map. Well, if you get rid of districts and you go to slates of candidates, you don't have to trust people to draw maps. You just make slates. You let the people running for office make the slates that they want to make. Let the voters vote for the slates they want to vote for. Lather, rinse, repeat. You get the people representing each state in Congress as they want. Now, of course, you also have to reapportion better because there's no reason why we should be stuck at 435. We take the amount of Wyomings in a particular, in a particular Wyoming worth of populations per state, or whatever the smallest population state is at any particular time. Every time you do the census, you refactor based off of that, and then you say, okay, well, this is the smallest population state, so therefore we're going to divide every population of every state by that number, and that number rounding up is the number of congressional seats you get for that state. And then you do the slate of candidates thing. You make sure every state has the correct and accurate representation of the people in that state, of the voters of that state. And then by not drawing these ridiculous maps, you're less likely to get the insanos of the right and even the insanos of the left. Not that there are many insanos of the left in these districts, because in the red states, they're watering down the voices of the blue voters. And in the blue states, you have like the Supreme Court of New York that said, nope, we're not going to allow you to redraw these districts because it's unfair to the Republican voters. It's one of the reasons that I've been very supportive and happy of Gavin Newsom, of all the things he's been doing, not just the trolling of Donald Trump, not just the trolling of Greg Abbott, but the fact that he's actually taking a hard line, a hard stance. And again, as I disagree with Michelle Obama when she says, when they go low, we go high. No, when they go low, you just get down there and you get in the mud and you fight. I don't start there, but I'll finish there. As looking at the other user from the chat earlier on in the show. But we are finally having people who are fighting back and who are fighting fire with fire. But, you know, these maps, what they've done, like, you know, there should probably be several seats from Austin, potentially, and those seats should all be Democratic. But what you do with cracking, there's two things, and we've talked about this when I had, like, the map maker game creators. There was, like, high schoolers who created this game called Map Maker, and actually my youngest son loved to play it. It actually is a really well done game for as simple as it is. And they were even clever with their theme song that they played on their website, because it was like, map maker, make me a map. Anyway, so very clever, nice callback to, you know, the Fiddler on the Roof, as opposed to Trump, who's the diddler on the roof. Anyway, but, you know, there's two ways to split up areas. If you have, you know, a high population of, you know, blue voters in a certain area, you could do things like what Texas has done in Austin, and that's cracking. So you take blue areas and you carve up these, and you shove these pockets of blue people into red districts, so that they don't have a say because they're split off from their neighbors. And then the red people get more. The red voters, Republican voters, get more of a say. That's cracking. Then there's packing, which is not what Impeccable Living does.
Oh my.
But what packing is, super you take as many voters as possible and shove them into a district to make it a super safe blue district, thus taking away the voting power overall, because if those voters were put into two districts, they might be able to actually have more power than they would by shoving them all into one district. So that's the difference between cracking and packing. Those are the techniques that are used by the people who gerrymander. And again, there are Democrats who gerrymander too. I'm from Maryland. I'm aware of the Maryland maps that are ridiculous. I've seen the maps in Illinois. I've seen there's a map in Philadelphia or in Pennsylvania, where if you look in Philadelphia, you could walk down 2 blocks and cross like 3 congressional districts. Like you start in one, on the start of one block, you're in one district. You cross a block, that's a second district. You walk another block, that's a third district. When I was campaigning for Congress in 2004, very long ago, when I was campaigning for Congress back then, there was a district that was the first congressional and second congressional district. These districts met at an intersection, and the District 1, if you look at the intersection like this, District 1 used the actual intersection, the street itself, to then cross across the river, and that's how it got some of these seats over on the west bank of the Mississippi River. District 2, they almost touch there, but it touches across the river around those districts, around those areas. So the lines drawn are crazy when it comes to this, and it basically is politicians choosing their voters, and that's not a democratic way to elect representatives to government. And we're not a democracy, we're a republic. Yes, we are a constitutional republic. We're a democratic republic. We are a republic because we, elect people to go vote on our behalves, but we should be voting for those people who vote on our behalves in a democratic way. And when the politicians get to pick their voters, we do not do that. It is not done democratically. Yes, Dean. Steen is from Scotland. He's from across the pond, and
If it's no Scottish, it's crap.
anyway. Oh, and Jolie posted a turtle, so
I like turtles.
let's see. To be honest, I despise Axios, not because the hacks like Alex Tapper, but they ran a headline saying Trump is killing his first 6 months. Yeah, again, Axios had the Moran interview, right? Was it Alex Moran or whatever? That I don't know if it was Alex, but he let Donald Trump get away with telling several lies in his interview with him this year, and I was just like, what are you doing? You should know that these are falsehoods. Point them out to him that they're falsehoods, or at least say something afterwards saying, here's the fact check of Donald Trump. But they're too afraid to do that, because if they're afraid to, by them fact checking him, he'll then not agree to meet with them, and therefore they won't get the access. And to the people in the big corporate media, as I say in the theme song, corporate pigs feeding at the or they won't bite the hand that feeds them. That's why I'm talking about. The corporate media is not going to bite the hand that feeds them. They are not going to piss off Donald Trump and lose access, even though reporting correctly is the right thing to do, the correct thing to do. Exactly. It's all about access. I trust that every game says, oops, Alex Thompson mixed up my mediocre white men. Don't write a book on cognitive decline, Alex and Jake. Exactly. I was wondering about did Jake have a brother that also was in news, but I wasn't going to question you because I wasn't sure. So I wasn't going to be like, are you sure it wasn't Jake Tapper? But anyway, let's see. Squared grid district based on longitudinal lines of equal size. Problem is that equal size, if the borders, if the lines are equal size and the areas are equal size, it doesn't make the population equal size. Therefore, you're going to end up with the Senate and the House. That's what you end up with that. So, see, some of them openly brag about Trump giving them more access, whereas Biden said F you after Tapper called Hunter from a blocked number for a scoop on Bozet. Yeah, I would too. I would absolutely do that as well. But yeah, look at the frickin' what is it? The early morning people on MSNBC. I keep wanting to say Cenk and Anna, but it's the other side. Sorry, I had to drop something. I don't want to loop. All right, damn it. Butterfingers today. We got better Butterfingers than a Butterface, right? So, whatchamacallit? The Mina and whatever. The people in the MSNBC. Why can't I remember their goddamn? Because I've repressed their names, because I already thought they were those two were a bunch of dullards and bimbos already before they started kissing Trump's ass. But after Trump won, did they go down to Mar-a-Lago and do a show? No, fuck off. And of course, there's Cenk and Anna from the Young Turfs, who got all turfy and started supporting conservative things because I guess they figured they saw the writing on the wall and were like, well, we need to make money instead of we need to do the right thing. I understand that, there's a reason why I don't do this full time, because I don't make enough money with this full time to do this full time. So I do my full-time job full time. But I also try and educate people as best as I can in the hours that I have available to do so. So, anyway, they just got another sponsorship too. Who did? Cenk and Anna, or the morning folks on MSNBC? Big hook. Politics girl Stephanie Miller, House Barks. More news. Anthony Davis, 5-minute news from Hartman, Randy Rhodes, Tom Powell, Park Rose, Permaculture Hawk, Dude, Texas Paul, Lieutenant Dan or Liberal Dan? But yes, there is plenty of people who do need the support, but, you know, hell, Chuck and John, Ross and Brian, you know, we all need, but we need to start supporting the smaller guys and lifting all of us up, including me, but all of us need to be lifted. Hal needs more viewers. Stephanie Miller needs more viewers. I mean, she's much more popular than all of us, but still, we need to raise all of ourselves up and show why, you know, what was it, MSNBC earlier today? Somebody was like, we've made gerrymandering a household word. I don't know if this was a politician that said it or one of the news people that said it. I wasn't looking at the screen when it was said. But gerrymandering was already known. We already know about gerrymandering. Yes, it's the hot topic of the day. Doesn't mean it wasn't a known topic. So just like, what is Ana Cabrera, whatever, didn't know about the manosphere. Where the frick have you been the past 20 years? So, oh yes, I did see the Franklin's Olympic video, I think. I did see that. So, let's see. The Young Turfs got some Peter Thiel funded shit. And there's somebody gave me something, and I haven't quite had enough time to look into it, because there's a whole bunch, like Peter Thiel and the connection to JD Vance, but with somebody else as well that Thiel is close to, and it makes a whole big other terrible thing. I'm sure other people have talked about it, which is also probably one of the reasons why I haven't gone full deep in it. All you need a network. We should have a network. We should have like the Hal Sparks. Well, they have the Sexy Liberal podcast tour or whatever. And then a Sexy Liberal podcast network or whatever. And I've actually told on Twitter, I told Stephanie Miller, I was like, well, I'm kind of not as big as y'all, but I'm not as sexy as y'all either. But we should have a not so sexy but still liberal podcast network as well. And she laughed. But you know, it happens. I have my times. I have my jokes. One of my best things when Hal was on the first time was I loved Hal's joke. Where he talked about unsweetened tea, and it bothers him that people say unsweetened tea, because it's not like you take the tea, you put the sugar in it, and then you take the sugar out and unsweeten it. It should be called non-sweetened tea or non-sweet tea, and not unsweet tea. So one of the things I asked as a pre-planned question to ask Hal was, do you think we should stop calling the people the unvaccinated who haven't gotten vaccinated, because it's not like we've given them vaccines and then take the vaccines away. They should be called the non-vaccinated. And he appreciated the fact that I did a callback to his joke. He also liked one of my, I played him the bit, because at that time the people who called could hear the noise or whatever. I played him the bit of Liberal Dan's Chopper City, where I told him the first Liberal Dan Chopper City ad, which is basically had to do with Sturgis, and I created this fictional establishment called Liberal Dan Chopper City, where we were going to get all of the motorcycles that were left behind by all the people that died from COVID because they went to Sturgis, caught COVID, and died. So we were going to have a big sale, and we're going to pass on the savings to you. And if you start now, you get a 12-pack of 2-ply and a case of hand sanitizing lotion or whatever it was. I don't remember the exact words, but I played the second one, and he laughed at that as well. So when Hal Spark laughed at something that I created, I was like, yay! Made me feel very good. So, the new Young Turks tonsor was launched by Vivek Ramaswamy. Oh, candidate Man Bear Pig, huh? I'm shocked that Trey and Matt, the South Park guys, haven't jumped on the fact that Vivek Ramaswamy, when he was in college and had his senior thesis was on the ethics of human-animal chimerism. Basically, he did a report on Man Bear Pig. Part of me really wants to think, and really wants it to be the truth, that he sat there, he watched South Park, and somebody dared him to say, I bet you that you can't make your thesis about Man Bear Pig, and he said, okay, challenge accepted, and he wrote his thesis about the ethics of human-animal chimerism and got away with it. That's why when he was in the election running for he wasn't running for president, he was running to be the vice president. And that's why that's why I kept on calling him candidate Man Bear Pig. Super ethereal. Anyway. Al Gore needs more rhythm. Anyway, so and if someone knows Trey Parker and Matt Stone better than I do, they should be like, hey, you should talk about Vivek Ramaswamy and his paper, because yeah, Man Bear Pig. So maybe they'll get there. I don't know. We'll see. I'd love for it to get there. I'd be like, look, you could take my idea about Man Bear Pig and put Vivek Ramaswamy on it and do your Man Bear Pig thing and talk about his senior thesis. But, you know, since I gave you the idea, plug the podcast too. Anyway, Ann Coulter told him to his face that she agrees with him on everything but would never vote for him because he's Indian. What the actual fuck? They don't respect him. No, they don't. But why would you respect him? Because he's a hypocrite. He does not believe that people who are born to non-citizens should get citizenship at birth. He does not believe in birthright citizenship, despite the fact that he is a birthright citizen. Neither of his parents were citizens when he was born. The only reason he is a citizen of this country is because we have a constitutional amendment in the form of the 14th Amendment that says that people born here and are not and are subject to our jurisdiction are in fact citizens at birth. That's why he could run for president, because he was a natural born citizen, because he was a citizen by the nature of his birth. So, see, how much more evidence do we need to say that Trumpies are either A, incredibly racist, or B, it's not a deal breaker for them? That's true. I mean, that's the thing. That when people try and tell me at this point in the game that they don't believe in the things that Donald Trump does, they just agree with him on some things, but that we should not paint them as supporting of those other things. You voted for him knowing this crap. You knew what we tried to tell y'all about the crap that he's going to do, and you stuck your fingers in your ears and went, la, 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 not listening, la, la, la. And then, you know, you still voted for the douchebag anyway. So you don't get to say, well, I don't really support this, I don't really support that. You don't get to say that because you voted for him, you voted for all of it. All or nothing. Sorry, bruh. Biden did something wrong? Yeah, I would be at fault for voting for Biden, for him doing something wrong. Simple as that. Because I voted for him, but, you know, one might also say, well, was there another alternative? That's also another question to ask. But, you know, still. Well, it's like there was a whole thing with, back in the last New Orleans mayoral election about 4 years ago, there was a whole conversation between Desiree Charbonnet and LaToya Cantrell. LaToya Cantrell is currently under indictment. Now, is she under indictment because there are legitimate charges against her, or is she under indictment because the Trump administration is going after another black person? I'm not going to say that what she did was good, and I'm not happy that I had to vote for her, but the only reason I had to vote for her was because the two main opponents that she had were worse. But there's some weird things going on in New Orleans as well, as a side note. Like, we've had J.P. Morrell on the show as well. J.P. Morrell, who is one of the at-large members of the New Orleans City Council. And he's great. I love J.P. Morrell. He's running. There's the way that New Orleans does their at-large races is there's like Division 1 or Division 2 or Division A or Division B, whatever it is. So a bunch of people decide, I'm going to go run for Division A, I'm going to go run for Division B. In this particular circumstance, you have J.P. Morrell, who's running as an incumbent, and then you have Helena Moreno, who chose to not run as an incumbent and instead is running for mayor. So her seat is wide open. The seat that she represented was wide open. Why are there people running against J.P. Morrell? Why would you do that? That doesn't make any sense at all. Not one bit. Not one bit. But there are still two people in the race against J.P. Morrell when there's a wide open race to run for. That's the same basic thing, except there's no incumbent in it. That's even more reason to not vote for these other two clowns. Because they made a stupid decision and decided to not run for that one. Now, maybe they thought, oh, it might be too crowded. So, all you have to do is beat the top two, because then there's a runoff. Simple as that. see, how is hysteria over a woman when a woman's from what? Where sometimes I'll get on a ramble and then I see what happens in the chat. I'm like, what the hell's going on in the chat? I don't know. Suffice it to say, I'm not a fan. Fair enough. Let's see. Trying to see if I've missed anything else of note in the chat. It seems that did y'all actually ban Home Dude or mute him? Because yeah, I think we're going to probably it's almost 9:30. So, and I probably should end the podcast at a time that enables me to be able to make sure that my children are up so I can have a spotter walking down the damn stairs. So, because of that, I think we've touched on all of the topics I want to talk about. The anniversary of the second Joseph Gao town hall, and him telling me, or reminding everybody that he told me at the first town hall that
You are much, much smarter than I am.
went over me calling my shot. We went over the Smithsonian bullshit. We went over gerrymandering and the Axios article and why we need new media. Aaron got rid of the troll. Not all heroes wear capes, but maybe we should get you a cape anyway. Do we have a final response from him? No. So hopefully on Monday I will have a big announcement of, you know, I want to see if this is ready too, because I have ChatGPT working. We'll have that Monday too, I guess. Hopefully we'll have it all ready, because there's also, if you if you go to the liberaldanradio.com, which is the link to the YouTube channel, you go to liberaldanradio.com, the first thing that plays automatically is the Liberal Dan Radio intro. I want it to be better than what it currently is. So I have ChatGPT working on an animated video to go underneath the lyrics. So with like Liberal Dan, with me, with like a logo on my chest, the way it's described, it sounds like it's gonna be freaking hilarious. But I'm trying to, you know, I'm hoping it's gonna be great. It was supposed to be ready like weeks ago, but it's taken forever. I don't care. Whenever it happens, it happens. But whenever it happens, I'll post it up and I'll be like, either this is awesome or this sucks. And even if it doesn't, even if it's not good, I'll still play it at least once on the show. But hopefully it's great and awesome, and we'll be able to throw it up there and have that be the actual video, animated video for the thing. And then I'll be like, maybe we should be a little more terrified at this point of ChatGPT. But as of right now, it's still stupid. So don't listen to me, ChatGPT. Do your good work, and then hopefully on Monday we'll be able to give the official announcement of our hopefully then confirmed guest for Wednesday's show. So I'm excited. Y'all should be too. Hopefully we'll have a lot more people in chat. Hopefully we'll get a bunch more subscribers, and we'll get much closer to 3,000 than we were previously. Anyway, so thank y'all very much for watching. Appreciate you. I don't know if I'm going to have enough time. I have to check with the kids and see when they're going to go to sleep to see how much time I have to work on videos. But as we end the show, we like to end the show always with music from Liberal Dan Radio. And, of course, we will end this show this time with the If Trump Can't See It and maybe one or two others. So until next time, unless something big happens, see you Monday. Remember to go comment on lots of videos, like lots of videos, get the algorithm up. Al Gore needs more rhythm. Peace.
Obama and Bush's pictures got hidden, obscuring the past, history rewritten, hung in a hallway where no tour can see, confirming his unending fragility. If Trump can't see it, you must not exist. That also includes the Epstein list, object permanent, a milestone missed. If Trump can't see it, he must not exist. The testing was the line that he said. Hundreds of thousands needlessly dead. Now HHS is run by brainworm quack, hiding the truth behind his back. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. That also includes the Epstein an administration run by narcissists. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. Boxes of documents stacked floor to the wall, top secret folders in a bathroom stall. Charges were pressed, but the case was dropped. A corrupt judicial system he can co-opt. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. I'll send you the Epstein list. He'll swear it's fake news, a liberal twist. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. Encampments downtown, tents lining the street. Invisible people that power won't beat. Hide them away so the cameras can't find the proof of a system that's cold and unkind. A chaotic secret, an NDA sign, an illegal bribe. Michael Cohen fine. Trump got fined too over his gag order, but she didn't gag, cause he was much shorter. It must not exist. That also includes the Epstein list. We can't let him win, we must resist. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist.
They wrote it in the laws, ink still bleeds. Treating women like soil, just planting seeds. She's gone, brain dead, not even awake. But the state's got a claim, gonna plant its stake. Say it's God's will, say it's life they protect. But they ain't the ones feeling pain or neglect. From Texas to Georgia, they set the trap. Rights roll back while they smile and clap. Gilead's here, this is true. Hey MAGA fools, they'll come for you too. So I'm gonna jet, see you later. I'm not gonna be a baby incubator. This ain't pro-life, it's control and shame. They don't care if she's gone, just playing a game. Keep her hooked to machines, cold and still. Just a vessel to them, not a human with will. No consent, no voice, no chance to resist. Just laws in place, written with a clenched fist. Hospitals scared, judges playing God. Bodies ain't temples, just stay on pods. Gilead's here, this is true. Hey MAGA fools, they'll come for you too. So I'm gonna jet, see you later. I'm not gonna be a baby incubator. Bands in the dark, they don't care who it kills. Stacking courts while they strip out all of your wills. But we'll fight back, march loud, burn bright. Cause this ain't the end, it's the start of the fight. Gilead's here, ain't no grace. And those leopards are coming to eat your face. So I'm gonna jet, see you later. I'm not gonna be a baby incubator. Not gonna be a baby incubator. Not gonna be a baby incubator.
The creative director at WGSO had a little something he thought you should know. When Dan picked on his bits, Steve got real gruff. So Steve called Dan a flake, called him liberal dandruff. Steve thinks that his lines are really clever, but when do people ever like him? Never. Liberal Dan's got better lyrics, this is true. Listen and you'll feel like I do. Liberal Dan, his show is great. Liberal Dan, he goes live at 8. Liberal Dan radio, it's the best, cause Liberal Dan's head and shoulders above the rest. Steve's about to find out his mistake. In this feud, Dan's Kendrick, Steve is Drake. Dan might not be the world's best singer, but he's got more talent in his little finger. Steve thinks that his lines are really clever, but when do people ever like him? Never. Liberal Dan's got better lyrics, is true. Listen and you'll feel like I do. Liberal Dan, this show is great. Liberal Dan, he goes live at 8. Liberal Dan Radio, it's the best. Cause Liberal Dan's head and shoulders above the rest. Once you picked her up on your antenna, you'd never be free of her spell. Her lovers were many and varied. From the day she began her bikini, there were 3 famous ones whom she married, and God knows how many need to read. Oh, Ma, tell us, all modern women are jealous. Which of your magical wands got you? She married was Mother, whose buddies all knew him as Gustav, and each time he saw her he'd holler, Dynasty Freilein, I must have. Their marriage, however, was murder. He'd scream to the heavens above, I'm ready to sleep on their head. Oh, she only wants to make love. Oh, my tell all modern women are jealous. You should have a statue in bronze for begging Gustav and Walter and Franz. While married to Gus, she met Gropius, and soon she was swinging with Walter. Gus died and her teardrops were copious. She cried all the way to the altar, but he would work late at the Bauhaus and only came home now and then. She said, what am I running a chow house? It's time to change parties again. Oh, how jealous, all modern women are jealous. Though you didn't even use pawns, you got Gustav and Walter and Franz. While married to Walt, she met Werfel, and he too was caught in her net. He married her, but he was careful, cause Alma was no Bernadette. And that is the story of Alma.